In 2012, it was decided that Mount Pleasant School would be closed. And yet, with over 150 years of history, we have so many memories to share. And these are memories that we are a part of.
I think it'd almost be like if your first house that you lived in got torn down or something, you just remember all the memories that you had. And I mean, I know at least so far the building's still gonna be here, but knowing that there's not all the children that are gonna be coming through here and making those same memories, it's just, it's sad.
Then I got a little bit happy because I'm now used to it being able to close, because I'm not very sad anymore, because I already heard it, I already know what's happening, and for sure it's happening.
I'm always sad when you have to close a school. It's kind of the center of the community, and you just hate doing it. It's the worst thing you can probably do in the way of trying to deal with budgets, and it's so counterproductive, because we all know as educators that smaller schools are better, but they're not as economical. And when you're in such a budget crunch like the district is right now, I mean, it's unbelievable what they're having to cut.
I love the story of the pine cone that we've been talking about at Mount Pleasant, about how the pine cone doesn't spread its seed until it's under fire, and I do feel like this is a fire, and I know that our students are going to go and they're going to spread their Mount Pleasant spirit wherever they go, and that they are going to remember Mount Pleasant fondly, but it's terribly sad for me. I'm still stuck in the sad, for sure.
I truly believe that there's something to be said about a community school. And that came to, just was made very clear to me it was 2 weeks ago Friday. We were sitting in our classroom and we were having an Ed Reform Day. And we had one of our students show up who was having some difficulty at home and just didn't know what to do. And so he showed up at school, even though he knew there wasn't school that day. And I said, well, why are you here? And he said, I know that if I come here, you guys will do something. And that's the thing that kind of touches my heart. I'm worried about the school not being here.
While Mount Pleasant's history as a public school begins in 1856, its history goes back even further. The Oregon Trail, 4 to 6 months of traveling and covered wagons, a 2,000-mile journey, and in 1843, a great migration of pioneers traveled west to Oregon, and specifically to Oregon City. And in 1846, people found the first school building built out of logs, a one-room schoolhouse, and it was named Mount Pleasant. This first schoolhouse unfortunately burned down in 1848. In 1849, school was held in the upper room of the Holmes Mansion, a temporary fix, until in 1856, a school building was built on the same site as today's Mount Pleasant School. In 1891, a new 2-story school building was established for Mount Pleasant, and this building was state-of-the-art for its time. Then, in the summer of 1930, the school building was finally built that is now the Mount Pleasant we know today.
I started classes here, the first grade, as near as I can remember, in 1937. And my first grade teacher was Mrs. Woodward. And I think all first grade teachers are very kind and leave a good memory in your mind, or they should anyhow. Mine did.
I remember in first grade being dressed up as a Christmas present in the back of Mrs. Stern's truck. on Main Street for a Christmas parade. And I did Boy Scouts here, Cub Scouts. So I remember Pinewood Derby and meetings in the cafeteria. So truly walking through this building, every single room takes me back to one thing.
There was lots of can drives during that time because it was during the war, Second World War, that I was here, and we had to bring tin cans and had to clean them, and after you got so many cans, you got to go on a field trip someplace.
Favorite teacher was Mrs. Krause, Elaine Krause. To this day, it's just biggest impact on my life, taught me a lot of really good life lessons. And I remember staying after school a lot and helping her do things. She wrote a book while I was in first grade, and I helped her bind the book over when the building across the way was an admin building before it was actually classrooms.
I remember square dancing, Monster Mash, we were just talking about that a second ago, and so even that tied in with my Halloween interest at that time too. Going to Karis School and teaching square dancing, and that was a huge highlight of elementary school.
We had to go to Karis.
Miss Cooper.
Yeah, Miss Cooper.
Yeah, she was the PE teacher.
Square dancing.
That was terrible.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Some of the kids that were in it, you would probably think wouldn't want to do square dancing, but they loved it.
And Mount Pleasant always then stayed for the next, 12 years, was always my home school, and I loved it here. I taught PE here for usually 3 or 4 days out of my 5-day week.
My first year of teaching, I had the classroom directly across the hall from the music room, which often led to lots of noise during the day and after school as there were band practices and such. One memory I have that I'm reminded of when I think about that first classroom is when the music teacher, Mr. Wells, secretly placed a speaker in my classroom and then spoke to me over a microphone in a very low voice, "Rachel." And I had no idea where the voice was coming from because he was, giving me a little run for my money there.
I will forever be blessed that Rachel Murphy was in our lives, forever. I mean, to this day, Indy talks about her, and I feel like she's going to be that teacher, like my first grade, like Mrs. Krause. She's going to be that teacher for Indy, and that's something super special, If your kid can connect with somebody like that, that's really special, and she learned a lot from her, and she still does.
I just think of my favorite memory of teaching is just connecting with parents, children, kids, just the whole environment. I see some of the kids and they'll say, "Oh, I remember you," and I think, "Oh man, I can't remember half of it." But you still feel good. It just gives you an inner good feeling about what you did.
I got sick one day in class.
Yeah, it ruined my day. I went home and my mom was like, "How was your day, honey?" I'm like, "It was horrible. This kid, Sean Davis, threw up a whole hot dog."
It really was
Apparently,
a whole hot dog.
It made it a big impression.
You really did.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the Banch Bowl. Like I was saying, in 5th grade, it was a big history, kind of like a Jeopardy style. They separated the classroom into 2 teams, and we, would learn everything we could possibly learn in a 2-week period about Civil War and about just, Oregon history and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. And I also loved the big sculpture that's in the cafeteria that we made. I think we were 2nd graders when we made it. And each kid, made this little 2x2 block.
Well, I am a 6th grade teacher right now, currently at Mount Pleasant, but I started out as a kindergarten teacher, believe it or not. And those were the 2 grades I swore I would never teach. I would never be a kindergarten teacher. I would never be a 6th grade teacher. But here I am, retiring from 6th grade.
Friends, girlfriends who were in orchestra with me, and we're coming back as 4th grade girls will, and walked into the cafeteria to total dead silence, which you never have in an elementary school cafeteria during lunch. And we immediately knew something was terribly wrong, but we had no idea what. And it turned out to be that that was the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and the announcement had just gone out that he had died. And we had been completely oblivious to the fact that he'd even been shot because we were somewhere else when those announcements were being made by the teachers to our classrooms. But I remember that I felt safer being at school when I heard that than being anywhere else. That being in the school environment with your teachers who cared was a positive thing.
The thing that comes to mind is that Mount Pleasant's a part of me, more than me being a part of Mount Pleasant. It's just been my youngest started in first grade. She's going to be a senior next year, and I've had kids continuously the whole time, and I've had each one of my youngest ones that started in the little infant carrier and has just grown up in the school. So I just feel like it's a part of me.
The kids here are really special. They all love learning. They all love being here. They feel safe here. They feel that they're a part of the community here.
Students come to Mount Pleasant and they want to be a part of that family. There's a real family atmosphere at Mount Pleasant.
When I was here, and I know that it's like that still, the support and the love that was given to me as a student really has helped me throughout my whole life. I have so many good memories from my time here, and then when I come back here, it brings all those memories back up again.
The teachers really were there for each other. When something happened in the family that was difficult, everybody just really rallied around them and helped them.
Mount Pleasant has an amazing staff, and again, I believe that's been a constant throughout the years of Mount Pleasant. But the staff truly care about kids and their learning, but they also care about kids as their person, and they want them to be long life learners, and they also want them to be strong citizens in the community and throughout their lives.
Staff here has always been more of a family as opposed to a staff. Things happen to everyone, and you just come together. You do what you need to do to help everyone out.
It's a family, and our family at home has spread to Mount Pleasant, with my sister-in-law being a first grade teacher and my nephews going here and my children being a part of it. And now being a staff member, the staff is truly more like a family than coworkers.
I mean, it's obviously, when I think of the changes to Mount Pleasant, I think more of the changes my family's been through. Mount Pleasant's been a constant, which is why it's kind of, you feel towards it as family. They're always there, whereas my kids have gone from kindergartners to high school kids, and they've grown, and their hair's changed, their style's changed, but Mount Pleasant's been the same.
Like I said, Miss Cooper and Miss Stearns, have stuck in my mind pretty much all my life, and it's been great to continue to work with them at the school district. And Mr. Stearns, I still work with him at the plays at the high school, which we've been doing together for a long, long time, and actually had their daughter as a student. So it's this really amazing community that's built, and it really does impact you.
Our staff has given 150% of themselves throughout the years, not just, the past 7 years that I've been here, but throughout the years they have given their hearts to this community and these kids. And it's so fun to follow the kids that they've come back and now they have families and they are retiring, and to hear their stories of what an important piece of history and on each journey that Mount Pleasant provided them.
Mount Pleasant's a special place, and I think its location, in the center up here on the hill, has played a real role in being a center for things, not just as a school, but just really as a community center. And I think of all the activities that are housed here or facilitated here, either on the grounds, if not inside the building. It's really a gathering place. It has a big impact here.
it's been a great impact on the community. It's one of the older schools in our school district, and the tradition here is so positive here in Park Place and Barclay and Eastham. Those schools are kind of known as the elementary schools of Oregon City for us older people.
I was thinking about how Mount Pleasant has been such an integral part of our community, and I really think it has to do with the word pleasant in it. In all the years, whether I was a student myself or as a teacher, I have seen people who are committed to kids. And we know that kids are the future for us. They're the ones that are going to be making decisions later on as we start to age, and we just want to make sure that they have the skills to make sure this community continues to be a strong community.
We usually had a dress rehearsal the day of the program where the entire student body would come and watch the students perform, and they could practice getting up onto the risers and getting off the risers and practice singing their songs. And usually first graders would sing like 3 or 4 songs for the audience and then get off the risers. Well, as soon as I had marched my little first graders up onto the risers, I kind of stood back and looked at them to make sure they looked okay, and then I noticed that one of my little boys in my class looked out and saw the audience looking at him, put his hands up into the air and said, "These are my people." And so I often think of Mount Pleasant as these are my people.
Every child who goes here is like a little piece of family, that they're not just students, but it's a community of people who hold each other up and help each other when they're hungry and give each other presents on their birthday when maybe their family can't afford it.
And people call me, parents have called me and said, "I heard Mount Pleasant was closing. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?" I says, "Well, they don't ask me." And I said, I feel badly, but if the budget warrants that, I guess that's the way we have to go.
I said, I think it's shocking to some degree. And I guess what shocks me even more is I'm not hearing a bunch of reaction. Not as much as I think we even heard with Park Place and other things, other schools. And I think it's because we know that there's no other choice. And I'm kind of shocked by it because, King and Mount Pleasant I thought would never close. And so I thought when they do, there's going to be this enormous outcry and a reaction. But unfortunately, I think we all know the reality and what's going on in our school district and that we have to make those decisions. And I think that's probably causing people to not completely lose it.
Well, I was sad to hear that it was going to close, and everybody that I've seen, like at the grocery store, students that I had, they're sad. Some of them, everybody in their family went to this school, and their parents maybe, they have a long history with Mount Pleasant, but it's just one of those things that you need to adjust to.
They have to have money up here, but they have money up here, so they have a gap.
I think it was like the only choice they really had because we were down so much money.
Staff, the principal, and the parents that I met with and talked with, there was definitely a really strong message that this is a place they valued, this is a place they felt belonging, and that contributed to their lives, and it was something very difficult to let go of, and which is exactly what you want to hear. It would be a really sad story if we said we had to close someplace and no one cared, but not the case here at all. It was very clear that this place was special and made a difference in a lot of lives, and there's a real historical attachment to it too. I'm amazed at the stories that are coming out now, just about the generational connections for people. It's kind of, it is very bittersweet. But the other part is that I think that this community has been remarkable in embracing the changes and understanding the context that we're all facing and knowing that all of our kids will benefit with making this change. And there's also a kind of a constant thread, I think I've heard too, that people really care about the future of this place. It's not just the school, but they care about this place, and they want this place to continue to be playing a vital role in our community.
Mount Pleasant has good bones. I think it'll survive one way or another, and it's still in a good area out here, and it needs to be maintained.
It's very sad because it's the center of the community that you're taking away, and it's a place for the community to gather and be a community. And in this day and age, that's an important piece, but I guess it's inevitable.
I loved all my teachers that I had. Some of them came to my wedding, and I have a lot of really great memories here.
I just wanted to make sure that I went on record to say thank you so much to all the teachers and staff and everyone who's helped me raise my kids and been my family. You're always in my heart.
I just truly want people to know that that everybody, whether it was a parent, a volunteer, or a teacher that walked into this school, they did an amazing job.
Mount Pleasant is an amazing school. It serves children, it serves families, it serves its community. And with over 150 years of history, it is not going to be forgotten.